What's up guys, Zeekstuff here, and today we're looking at the patch notes for patch 4.7, Pillars of Success, the release patch for Ganesh, or Ganesha, whatever you want to call him, God of Success. First of all, we're going to look at the new skins real quick, and then we go through all the balance changes, and obviously with that, the new god as well. So, skins. We have the default Ganesh skin. We have the recolor, which is very pink, a lot more pink than this card actually indicates to you. Then we have a vampire Scylla skin. No one knows when we need another Scylla skin. The skin itself looks pretty nice, but yeah, that's pretty much all I can say about that. A lot of Camazot's faces in there. Then we have a modern day Mercury, which I think is a really cool skin. Unfortunately, the face is a little bit butchered in game, but hey, you're not gonna see the face from the back. Otherwise, a really cool skin in my opinion. Then we have Nike's superhero skin, which I don't really know why it exists. It's a bit strange. The weapon is hardly changed, which kind of gives it off, like, gives it this weird tier 2 vibe. The wings are pretty cool. Yeah. Then we have Uller Assassin's Creed skin. That's clearly very, very obvious reference there. Really cool skin, design-wise, really, really nice. Looks really cool in-game, both from the front and the back. I think that's probably my favorite skin from this patch. And then we have a Janna skin that's kind of a demonic theme to it. Really nice skin. Voice pack is a bit meh in my opinion. Animations on this one are super sick. The animations of all the abilities, extra sound effects and everything, like, just look really, really good. So, one of the cooler skins. Obviously, the cooler skins, as always, are in little heads up. These may be very loud, much louder than I am right now, so you may want to turn your speakers down a little bit. Let's go.
They had bad blood.
Smell you later. It's a bird. It's a plane. No, it's just me.
It's called the Sparrow, by the way. And then we got Secret Voice Pack, by the way, very soothing, with a little funny effect on the woohoo. You'll find out yourself. And Ganesh plays, well, more like a traditional Guardian than Kuzenbo, I would say. He's definitely towards the support role kind of thing. And we'll talk about what he does. The nearest friendly got the kill credit and received the reward for his work for literally every kill mechanic in the game. And he has an increased assist range by 20, so it's easier to get assists as well, which makes up for the fact that obviously he's going to get a little less gold because he's not going to get any last hits unless he's completely alone, or any kills unless he's completely alone. And his duration for assists is increased by another 5 seconds, which is also quite a lot. 5 seconds when you think about usually the target is dead by that time. His one is called Turn of Fate. Now this is a very straightforward line ability in comparison that does a decent amount of damage, and for each enemy it hits, your allies get bonus damage. And they get percentage damage, so that's quite significant, very, very strong effect. And the percentage damage is up to 10%. So, Turn of Fate. So, overall very strong, kind of not the slowest projectile, I think, either, so it's not that hard to confirm, neither in a team fight nor for clearing, and quite a significant effect. His second ability is called Om, and is actually, like, it's literally what he does. He goes up in a meditation state, basically, into the lotus position, and he is slightly slowed, but can travel freely in all directions. He cannot use any other abilities while doing this, and he gives protections to allies around him. You may remember that he was originally supposed to soak up damage for allies. He doesn't do that anymore, but he gives protections up to 75 for allies around him. And he silences in a cone in front of him. This is like an ongoing silence as long as the enemy stays in the cone. So you have to basically follow the enemy's movement with the cone in order to silence them for the whole duration. The duration of the ability itself is relatively short. It's not a long channel. It's 1.8 seconds. It feels kind of short when you see it, which is because it has pretty significant impact. And he himself, I think, it seems a bit odd here because there's 2 different values for protections. It says physical protections for nearby allied guards up to 75, and then below it says protections. This can go through player-made walls, but it doesn't break them. It just lets them go through them. Other than that, it's the dash, and it's a CC that locks the enemy down. It first stuns them, where it basically beats them down, and then it is a knock-up. Oh, I just got corrected here. The protections down here is supposed to say cost. This is supposed to tell us how much mana that ability costs, and that makes a lot more sense. And then with the 3, you have this stun that goes into knock-up. It's single target, and it has a little higher cooldown with the 15 seconds here that doesn't go down. So it's probably what you're gonna max last out of all his abilities, from what I understand, because it doesn't do as much damage as the 1, and you don't really get any benefits from leveling it up, as far as I can see it, aside of the extra damage. His ultimate is, oh, I hope I don't butcher this, Dharmic Pillars. And some of you who played the game for quite a while may be familiar with this, because this is basically old Nuwa old. And I'm really happy to see this back in the game, because it was an amazing ultimate. It was super fun. And what it does is it summons 4 pillars. They basically create a cage similar to Odin Cage, if you think about it on the map. Only this is like a square cage. But there is a wall on the outside between those pillars, and this wall deals damage. It deals damage for as long as you pass through it, so it basically ticks from how we could see it. And enemies that go through it also get a slow, and they get a protection reduction. So going through that will hurt you. You can not shake and bake, if you remember that, but you can hold an enemy in this area for them to take extra damage. And what's interesting is, like, the slow is up to 40%, 20 to 40, which is not insane. What is really strong is the protection reduction, because the protection reduction is up to 55. It starts as 15, it's up to 55. I'm not quite sure if it lasts as long. Yeah, it lasts 3 seconds, same as the slow. And if you think about it, 55 protection reduction, that's more than most items offer you by far. The only thing that's comparable here is a fully stacked Spear of the Magus, basically. And that's for everyone who walks out. And I wasn't so sure how strong this guard's going to be just from the abilities in themselves, because he doesn't have a crazy amount of hard CC for multiple targets. He has like silence, and he has that single target lockdown with a 3. But with his ultimate and his 1, he can get a ridiculous damage increase against a single target. Because as long as you can't jump out of the pillars, as long as you don't have any other way to get out, you're going to take a lot of damage if anything hits you after you get out there. And if he hits you with the 1 at the same time, you're going to take even more damage because his allies are buffed. So, interesting mechanic. I feel like we might see some reduction to the protection reduction in a future patch. And kind of low cooldowns as well. For example, his 2 is on goes down to up to 10 seconds, which is pretty good. Overall, very interesting kid, very fitting character, I think, for how he is made, how he's designed, how his voice pack is and everything. We'll see how he plays on in game. And with that, we're getting to the rest of the patch notes. We have a Ganesha Clap, Ganesha Wave, obviously. Quick overview of how we get the skins here. Season ticket for the summer split is going to be the Vampiric Scylla. Then, well, you obviously vote on season games again. You get bonus quests, never mind. If you buy points, you get extra points. What a surprise. And you get a jump stamp. This is a season ticket reward. So if you jump, it will leave like a little mark with the SPL logo, which is actually really funny. I kind of like it, but it's a bit gimmicky. But ranked, you get the summer recall skin. And ranked gets a lot of text. Let's quickly go over this. The spring split is over, and it's time to bring in the summer split. Ranked players will have their ratings soft reset and will need to qualify anew. Soft reset is the important part to how we calculate a player's placement and what division and tiers players receive after qualification. Good. Needed. Little late. Kind of feels like we need another hard reset because of that, but hey. Getting to Diamond and Masters will take more effort as a result. What about the people who already are there from the last split? On the About page, you will be able to see what percentage of players will make it to each tier. Good. Transparency. Players will also be able to see how their TP is calculated at the end of the match lobby, so they can be more informed about how the system works. Very good. At least we get an explanation, even if it might still suck. Having an explanation for it is very, very good. We are also updating our TP decay system this patch. Players who play during the whole split will maintain their higher divisions, while those who play early on and stop will drop in placement. Also good. That's what gets people out of Diamond that don't belong there, because they actually have to prove that they can stay there by playing there. But still, it's going to take a lot of time to fix what has been created in the initial split. We also have improvements to the picks and bans process. Previously, only the top rated player would be first pick, while the rest were randomized. The 2 top players will now be the first 2 picks. This will give players more control over the initial few picks, which is a key in a ranked environment. To further help teams draft appropriately, players can now pick from any god they own, regardless of mastery count. You will still need the same amount of gods mastered as always, but you will now be able to draft that Capri for your support player even though you didn't master him. Okay, so the part about being able to have the first 2 picks being the better players is good, or the higher rated players. It won't be that for all players. It will never be that, because we used to have that system that way, and it led to a lot of BM for the bottom pick, and Hi-Rez doesn't want to go back to that, and I can see why. So 2 top picks and then randomized picks is pretty good in my opinion. I think it's a good, fair level where you don't get too messed up if you're like very good, but you also don't get bullied to hell when you're low pick. The part with the gods mastered obviously is going to be controversial, because a lot of people want people to play the gods before they get them into ranked, and now you don't even have to master them anymore. But the point is that with how users worshippers are at this point, it's like you can literally, at the right event, you can master a god in 1 game. You can get 50 worshippers in 1 game if you play it right. So because of that, I can, like, there's no longer any value in Mastery 1, so I can see why they just removed this obstacle, and you can trade now, because most people will not want to pick a god they've never played into ranked either way. So, but now they can pick them for a teammate and trade with them, and that's a good change, I think, because, you know, if they actually have that god and you just can't pick it for somebody because you haven't mastered it fully, then it's annoying. Of BM for it. But, I mean, sells the god pick, I guess. The summer split, players will have their matchmaking rating adjusted towards the average MMR value. Players will need to play a set of qualification matches to obtain a rank. We'll see how impactful this is. We'll see how much this does of a change. I don't know if like the estimation is based on the current MMR value only, or if the rank placement also factors in. And that makes a huge difference in how it works. I hope that the soft reset is still kind of hard-ish. So we'll see. The rest I think we kind of went through. God leaderboards have been explained. Back-end adjustments for more improved placements. Hopefully they do something! Exclamation mark. Placement after qualifying updates. Well, TP loss. So you have to play after, I think, 2 weeks. It is. Otherwise, like, you're going to get the decay. Oh, here we got the decay. Rank TP decay. Has been updated to be more intense due to the shorter split durations. TP decay will now begin after 2 weeks of not playing ranked. It will be more intense, capping out at 6 weeks. After 2 weeks, you will now lose 2 TP per day. 3 weeks, 4 TP per day. 4 weeks, 6 TP per day. 5 weeks, 8 TP per day. And 6 weeks, 10 TP per day. And you can now demote through TP decay. So, realistically, playing all 3 ranked modes at the same time is going to require a lot of effort. And depending on how much time you have, you will not be able to play anything outside of that. And it's not that easy to just cheese your grandmasters in Joust and have that from the beginning of the season. And just especially because, you know, you might just go on a holiday and literally not play for 2 weeks, and then you have to like play right after when you come back. But I mean, I'd rather have it this way than the other way around, where people can just like start ranked at the beginning of the season and then just stay there. Maybe a little too rewarding for people who start playing ranked at the end of the season, or the end of the split. But we'll see. Well, you know the value of something you receive. Gems favor fantasy points, which is good. You got a lot of bug fixes, audio fix, visual effects. Blink Rune now looks different, so it's better to differ from teleport glyphs. And Mystical Mail now scales with Runeforged Hammer. Nothing that really matters. And what matters though, Stone of Gaia will now stop Ares ultimate properly. That means you have another counter to Ares ultimate, which honestly means that at least in Conquest, Ares is in Athena, Jack, Erlang Shen. Fafnir can not recall when transforming back to dwarf form anymore. Freya can now spam her ultimate. It doesn't glitch out, like it doesn't get stuck anymore. And then we got the same fix that we had before for Hou Yi and Isis, and yeah. And then we have Kuzenbo cannot be rooted during his Sumo Slam anymore. Nua's Clay Soldiers now actually don't scale with physical power, which just makes sense, which is good. And Morrigan's decoy doesn't give stacks to Ice's passive anymore. And some weird Willish glitch. And then Xing Tian can now ult people that are knocked up and throw them, because that didn't work before. That was weird. It's so buff for Xing Tian, basically. New items. Frenzy's making a return. Now Belt of Frenzy. It's a 10% damage increase for all allies around you in a 7 feet radius. 15% attack speed increase for 5 seconds. And 10 bonus damage to what objectives. Interesting. Not quite sure how strong. 10% is pretty good. 10% is a pretty strong value. Just, put that next to Sunder at the moment. And the upgrade doesn't do as much, though. It's just another 10 penetration. But I could imagine this, having a purpose in the right environment, with the right players. I think this could be pretty good. The question is, when can you fit it in? When do you not need other situational relics that are better for that circumstance? Blackthorn Hammer, the little health child of the Mantle of Discord, gets a buff. Now 350 health instead of 2 passive, but the stats just didn't warrant actually investing into it. 350 health on an item is quite a lot. And maybe this is what brings it in combination with the Mantle of Discord for some crazy low health escape action. We'll see. Cursed Ankh gets a CDR increase, or a cooldown reduction. Weird. It's an anti-heal item, but it did so little compared to certain other relics, so I can very much see where this is coming from. So this is why we're now at 100 seconds instead of 150 for both the normal version and the upgrade. And I've Shield. Gdenia's Shield is an item that I thought was very underrated anyways, but it gets a buff now because it's supposed to be more of an early game item. Increased protections from 40 to 45. Nothing crazy, but it's still a buff. Don't underestimate the little ones. And increased the percentage health and mana restored from its passive from 2% to 2.5% per ability. So I think this is quite good. I think that especially Raven can make good use of this now. Combine this with the Mark of the Vanguard and you can ditch something like Breastplate of Valor and just go for more bullying that way. Pure maybe, because it has CDR. And some other solo lanes that generally make use of CDR and early bully potential. But especially those two. And I think that's interesting. That's a good change, good buff. We'll see how much it's picked up now. Lono's Mask is super weird. Super weird. So this is a support item. I'm going to read it out because it's so strange. It costs 500 gold. Being within assist range of a minion or jungle camp monster, death without dealing the killing blow gives you a stack. Only the closest ally god in assist range with Lono's Mask gets a stack. So only you get it if you have the mask. Same as with Bumba's Mask. Each stacks provide 2 health. Stacks are permanent and stacked up to 75 times. So this is what kind of puts you in the support only section, the 75 stacks. Upon reaching 75 stacks, you are given 400 gold. So you get 150 health from this item. You're getting 400 gold when you fully stack it, which means if you sell it, you'll have more gold from the item than you started with. Than you spend on it, so it's a way of getting bonus gold. And the weird thing is that during patch notes, it was very weird in how they explain it. But apparently you can sell it and keep the passive, or not, or something. And I did not get what they were trying to tell us there. If you keep the passive, this item is probably pretty much broken. If you don't keep the passive, the item is still pretty good. It delays your build a little bit in a way because, you kind of stack in and then you're selling it later. But, I mean, it's free gold and free health, essentially. You just have to stack a little. I don't see the problem with buying it ever. Aside of the fact that it obviously slows down your build curve for the moment where you do it. But that's the same as Traveler's Shoes. And if you build this and Traveler's Shoes and watches on a Fafnir, who already has a lot of base bonus protections, and then just gets the extra health, it's going to be a bit ridiculous. Because you get so much gold. So, just saying, it's just strange. We'll see. Meditation Cloak. Meditation Cloak now heals for flat value instead of a percentage value. It's so strange. It used to be 50% of the caster's maximum health to 75 plus 12 per level. I haven't really done the numbers yet on how much this is in comparison. It's interesting because the levels is out more between characters and between different builds, but it takes away from the purpose, from the ways of abusing it as well. If you look at the maximum numbers here, if you like say level 20 heals, so we're talking 240 health plus the 75. Not like this, so we were at 315, right? And put that next to like a Herc, he would have had to have like, well, around 2,000 health. So for a Herc with like more than 2,000 health, this would be a nerf, if I'm not completely mistaken here. And for anyone else, it's a buff, kind of. So it's odd. We'll see how it performs. We'll see if it's actually better or worse. I feel like, especially on early levels, it could be a bit worse. It could be a fair bit worse, actually. But like I said, I have to check the numbers to fully know how good this actually is now. The upgrade obviously has the same effect, and also the mana restoration is increased a little bit. It changed as well. It's from the casters to the target's maximum mana, so also a little weird. I don't know how to feel about this, honestly. The next one, oh boy, Rage gets a ridiculous buff. Rage currently has a 30 power, 20% crit chance, and a weird passive. Cost 2,200 gold. Now we'll have like the price will be increased by a little bit. That's the only nerf here. 2,400 gold. The passive, however, is completely different. Killing or getting an assist. Emphasis on you will get these stacks eventually, unless you're completely failing. On an enemy guard gives you 1 stack. Each stack provides 1% critical strike chance. Stacks are permanent and stack up to 5 times. At 5 stacks, you get an additional 10% critical strike chance. So wording is a little not 100% self-explanatory here, because it could either be a total of 10% crit chance, if it means like the total you gain in addition is an additional 10%, or it could be the 5% you did the game before plus another 10%. Both kinda is possible here, so it could be at least a total of 30% crit chance or 35. This is strong. This is very strong. No crit item at the moment offers this amount of crit consistently, and this could actually push triple crit, because triple crit could bring you up to something between at least 70 if not 75% crit chance between something like Wind Demon and Deathbringer. And that's super strong. Obviously, Rage doesn't have any other effects like the other crit items do, but just having this high crit chance in itself usually should pay off quite decently. And yeah, I'm a bit concerned about how this will go, because it's not an expensive crit item either. It's a lot cheaper than most others still, and it can be built relatively early as well, just to up that crit chance around whatever 3rd, 4th slot if you want to. And in a build that just has enough attack speed through something like Arcee and an Executioner with a pen and the lifesteal and everything you need, this should be quite effective. Runeforged Hammer. Increased health from 200 to 250. Increased percent. Maybe. Last time I checked the values, it was still ridiculously whack. Now it's getting a bit of its own right of purpose. Is it gonna be enough? I don't know. Especially with Blackthorn Hammer also being buffed. Not sure when I would build this over Blackthorn. We'll see. Could potentially be something that works for someone like Raven. Maybe. But so far it's still kind of weird. Find out. Shield of Regrowth gets swapped around. 10% cooldown reduction instead of 20%, but 300 health instead of 200. So kind of a reverse nerf here, with another nerf coming in at the same time. The fact that it has had a lot of health, or like a decent amount of health and cooldown reduction, really made it very, very strong. Now, there's a little less of a need to buy it on certain characters. 20% CDR was like the big selling point. You get half your CDR just from this item, with many other items not giving as much CDR anymore. This was just very, very good. Halving that has a decent impact. It's not going to be trash, but it's not going to be for as many characters as it was before. Then we have health increase on Shalala, so the tier 2 is a little better. And Stone of Binding now triggers on all crowd control, not just hide control, which I think makes this a lot better because now it's very effective and it can be easily applied. Problem is that the stats like of the item itself are not the best ones, but as a bridge item, I think this should be really, really good. It's just like you have to at the moment you have to justify everything, as in why would I get this as a support over Vanguard or over Thebes? But you can still get it after that and it should still be good. Thundering Spear gets a nerf from 30% to 25% with a damage debuff. It's a damage debuff, increased damage debuff. It's an increased damage buff rather, but you get what I mean. And the cooldown is increased, which kind of, you know, makes it a little, makes you wonder if you shouldn't get Frenzy instead if you're playing towards the team. But I can see why this was nerfed. It was very, very strong, and we saw a lot of use for it. So that's fair to me. Guard changes. Finally down to the guard changes. Aokwang's stealth can no longer break from minions, and this happens to multiple stealth in this patch. I think that's fine. Don't really mind. Willish gets a mana cost reduction on Moonlight Charge. Moonlit Charge. It's Moonlight Charge. But this now starts at 60 mana and goes up to 80 instead of 85 at our lengths. Because she is so mana hungry early, I think this is a decent buff actually. Even though her main ability to be used is the Feather Step, but it does change a lot in how she's played, I believe. And I think this is going to be interesting to see. Even though this bad buff may not sound that big, I think for Willish it's quite impactful because of how much mana uses due to her 1. Cabrakan gets 2 nerfs, his base protection decreased by 3, and Tremors decreased by 3 damage per tick per rank. If you don't know about this, Cabrakan is mainly overperforming at the moment due to the fact that he's got intense level 1 pressure, and Tremors is a big part of that, and nerfing this a little bit is something that's very, very much impactful. And I do think that's interesting. It's a good direction we're going in here. Though it was stated that this change may just be the start and Cabrakan may see more nerfs because in the competitive scene he's very much overperforming. Camazotz gets some little buffs. Essence Drinker now heals full at all times, not depending on whether he's in combat or not, which can lead to some interesting trades if he's around the pool. You have to be really careful now. And Devour's leap delays is removed, and I think this is a big one. So you can now juke something immediately with Devour, whereas beforehand you still had this quick frame where you could be hit by something, and that's quite a significant buff, I think, for juking ability specifically. Krononos. Let me drink something before I get into Krononos. What in the world is this change? The Wild Hunt reduced radius from 30 to 25. The ability has a ridiculous radius at the moment. No surprise there. No one should be shocked about that. And that's all. This guy is available and ranked. And that's... What? This guy needs nerves. Desperately. And it's so obvious. And I don't know why it's not happening. Weirdest, worst change of this patch because by far not enough. And then we have Hunbats. Decreased slow from 40% all ranks to 20 to up to 40. So Somersault, maxing Somersault before the 3 now makes a little more sense as well. If you want to go aggressive with it. Many people don't actually realize that it has a slow. So yeah, it's quite a significant nerf as such. And Fear No Evil, which I think is even more significant, gets an increased cooldown by 10 seconds. Which means that his only hard CC is, well, less spammable, I guess. It's not spammable, but like you can use it less. And that should be quite impactful. Apparently he was performing very well in the high level scene, or he was performing very well overall. I gotta admit, I haven't noticed that many Hunbats bans. I may have just been sleeping on that during the gauntlet. I may have just missed out on the ban phase where he was banned. So I'm going to reserve judgment for later. But I'm kind of surprised that he's getting hit so hard, like in 2 ways at the same time. I see that he's not a weak character, but he was, in my eyes, he was never like crazy overperforming, despite his very strong ultimate and his very strong purpose for that. Izanami gets the same like no stealth break thing through minions. Kuzenbo, Nene Kappa now inherits 20% of Kuzenbo's current health and protections in addition to its base, which I think is quite strong. Like 20%, that's pretty good. Just so they can't get one-shot by hunters. And the Nene Kappa is becoming more and more present in his kit as something very unique, kind of like a stronger pet. And we'll see. See what it does for him. Naja gets a buff out of nowhere. I guess he was just not played enough overall. In Universe Ring Toss, increased the number of bounces from like previously 3 to 7 to now 4 to 8. More early clear for Naja. Just saying. And if you stand next to each other under tower early on and Naja hits you with a ring toss, that's gonna hurt a lot. Because it's gonna be 1 more ring toss per rank. I think it's a little scary. I would like to see that. I would like to see how that will pan out, but let's see. Nox. Night Terror gets a drastic buff in terms of cooldown. Now going down to 70 seconds at max rank. Pretty much out of nowhere, but Nox was just not played much, I guess. And her team fight, she was falling short when it came to her team fight. I feel like this could be actually more impactful than it sounds at first, because it really gives her a little more to do in many situations where she's otherwise very restricted to her simple combo. She can now use her ult in that more often, and we'll see what that does. So, Stellar Burst no longer has an inhale penalty by firing. It should like basically be working as a normal ability now, which changes some things about how it works. We'll see how exactly that's applied, if that means it doesn't stop on certain obstacles anymore that are stopped by basic attacks, or what exactly this will do, what it means for attack cancelling and similar stuff. Could be interesting. Could be an interesting change. Susano, Hydra's Lament will now only proc on the first stage of the ability. This probably means that you're better off building Jolton's Wrath over Hydra's early on Susano. The attack cancel will always be good, but it takes away a lot of this extra benefit that he had. Though, you can still, obviously, like, I wouldn't say Hydra's is trash. If you're watching this on YouTube, I would very much appreciate it if you click that sub button and maybe the bell if you haven't yet. Thank you guys for watching. See you for the next one tomorrow. Duke Sloth, out.